So last night we went out for dinner and met up with a friend. Not my friend, but yeah, a friend. And so there was three of us there at the restaurant. We were there for about almost 3 hours, so it was a pretty long chat. She had recently broken up with her boyfriend that she'd been with for a while. She's in her 20s, so she's a bit younger than us, but she told all her different stories, but nothing unusual in what she said, but I was just noticing some interesting things that was happening while we were talking. So one thing that happened was, I've just made some notes here. Yeah, so there was one time where she was talking, and then all of a sudden she's like, oh, and she really wanted to tell us something, and it's almost like her mood changed. Like she sort of changed into like, oh, I really need to tell you this, but it was like she was so enthusiastic about telling it in a certain way. It was like she changed into a different mood or a different expression at that point in time, and her whole facial expression changed as she sort of started telling this story with a lot of energy and a lot of passion. And it wasn't like not necessarily a great situation, but it was just the way that she told it was really like she told it not in her normal character. It's like she changed into a different character, and it was like she was acting or something, and she just decided to change from her normal character into this other character in order to best tell this particular thing and convey the meaning that convey the energy that she was trying to get across. But when she did so, her whole facial expression changed a little bit, and just for a second I looked at her face, and just the way her face had changed, it reminded me of someone that I've seen online on a YouTube channel. Someone else. It reminded me of someone else. It didn't look exactly like her. And I'm looking at this, I'm like, wow. And I'm not really, I sort of had my brain switched off. I was just in observation mode. So I'm just like, don't think, just observe. And I was just observing, and she just kept going. And as she kept going, her facial expression changed more. And as she did so, it was almost like her whole face became like someone else. And it was like I was looking at a different person, and yet I was still looking at her. Like her facial features were like the same color, the same, like you could tell it was her, but at the same time you could tell it was not her. It was like I was looking at like a blend of like two different people visually, like in my vision in front of me. And yeah, it was really strange. It was like it was her, but it was not her, and it was almost like there was like another spirit inside her that came out at that point in time, and it's almost like she just switched that on herself, like when she wanted to change into that different acting, almost like she's in a play, and suddenly she's another character. And it was like visually I could see a different person there. And it went on, I would say, for about a minute, maybe 2 minutes, but probably about a minute. It felt like a while at the time. And then eventually she got to the end of that, telling that story or whatever, or saying what she wanted to say, and then she kind of calmed down and went, and just, it was like the next person's turn to talk, and at that point her whole face just changed back to normal. And I was sort of aware of myself at the time as well. I was observing this, but I was not looking in detail. It's almost like if I was to look in detail and think about it too much, it was almost like I feel if I had put too much effort into trying to observe, trying to think about it in too much detail, I probably almost would have like lost the effect. It was like she switched her face, but at the same time, like something in me was able to perceive that. But like I was in a different mode that was able to perceive that. But if I thought too much, I almost felt like I would lose that mode. So I was just observing, not thinking, just like just like, wow. And I couldn't figure out like who this character was that she was trying to be. Like, I didn't recognize this face. It wasn't someone that I recognized, and it wasn't like a character that I recognized, but it was definitely like a different character. So I was just, amazed that she could do that. I don't know. Yeah, she definitely didn't do it like consciously. Like, it just happened sort of subconsciously or something. But yeah, that was pretty amazing. So anyway, that was one thing. At a different point in time, we're eating dinner, and I sort of reach over to another plate, and there's like a little bean there or something, and I'm trying to pick this thing up, and I'm like, I leant over in a funny sort of angle, and I'm trying to pick this thing up from this plate, and all of a sudden I make this funny face, like while I'm trying to pick this food up. And it was, for me, my thought process at the time was like, I was thinking about the food and focusing on it and concentrating on it, and I was like, ooh, like, am I going to be able to pick this up? And I made this funny face, and I thought in my mind that I was making that funny face because of the situation of like, will I get it? Will I not? Am I going to drop it? Is it going to be okay? And just for like a second, I made that face. But at the same time, she was telling a different story, and it was like right at that second when she mentioned something that I made that face. And then like a few seconds later, she was like, oh, the look on my face was perfect. Like, because I made this funny face, and she thought that I was reacting to what she had said. And I guess from her perspective, the funny face that I made totally made sense in, from the context of what she was saying. It totally made sense, and it was like a funny face, and it was like, yeah, you know what I'm talking about. But like, I didn't know. I was barely like even listening. I was like sort of like focusing on my food. So it was funny that those two things happened at the same time. I mentioned this one because Jen, who notices a lot of different effects, has noticed things where she'll have facial reactions or like facial expressions or something that she'll do without knowing that she's doing it, without realizing it, or maybe with realizing it and allowing it to occur, but just briefly, where she'll do something and it's almost like there was like a spirit or something inside her causing her to do this, and then someone else will observe it and it will be meaningful to someone else. And that's pretty much like that was my interpretation of this situation, is that I didn't make that facial expression consciously. It just kind of flowed out of me, and I didn't mind it. Like, it wasn't bothersome to me that I made that facial expression. Like, it's kind of playful and fun, but it was meaningful to her, I think. And it was almost like I did it for her to see. And like, where did that come from? Like, why did I actually do that facial expression? It must have been like some other force, some other like state of mind, some other mind was projecting that, and I was like the vehicle, I was the body, I was the person doing the thing, and I was allowing it without really realizing it. But perhaps I was, I did that emotion, that reaction, for her to observe for some reason. So that was the second thing. Those were the two sort of things that really stuck in my mind. But as we were driving home afterwards, like, I was just thinking through all the other little different scenarios that happened, and there was a lot of little things, and I was like, wow, like this person is really switched on And this person has really got like a good heart, and she says that she's empathic and cares about people and stuff, and like you can tell she does. And a lot of the problems that she's facing is sort of like due to her really good heart, and then like a lot of other people around her maybe not having that same level of thing in their hearts, like not being able to it causes problems where like people are incompatible. She has problems with boyfriends and stuff because like she can be like way too full on, way too loving, and like maybe they can't handle it, or maybe they don't even have, like I said to her, like it feels like there's a bunch of people out there, and I don't know how many, but it seems like I know some friends of mine, for example, some guys who it seems like there's something missing in their heart. It's like they don't know what love is, or love's not the best word, but it's like there's something that I know, and she knows, and it's like something in her heart and my heart, but I can't really put it exactly into words what it is, but it's like there's something there that we have, that you would sort of assume that everyone has, but for some people that's just missing. There's something in their heart that's missing. That's something that I expressed out loud, and I just I said a bunch of things like that to her to try and help her in different situations, just to try and help her out. And I was thinking about it afterwards, and I was like, some of those things like I've thought about before, and then other things I just they flow out of me as like ideas that pop into my mind at the time, and I'm trying to help her out, and they're just things that I say, and then I think about it afterwards. I'm like, maybe that's true. Like where did I get that idea from? Like I hadn't really thought about certain things before, and then I sort of say it out loud, and it's almost like in trying to help her, like consciously, directly, like I'm trying to help her, it's almost like she subconsciously, without realizing it, she would like help me, or like I would like benefit as well in some way. And it was like a equal energy exchange where every time I like try and help her, like it would just kind of bounce back, and then I would get some sort of like benefit from it in some way, which is weird. Like I didn't ask for anything really. I didn't expect anything. All I wanted was to help her, but it's like subtle little things that maybe I hadn't thought about before, or little things that I noticed, like little things keep coming back and keep bouncing back at me like a mirror or something. Like you put out energy and a little bit of energy comes back or something. Yeah, it's and very fast, very quickly as well. So I won't go on all day, but it was just an interesting catch up with this friend, and I don't really know her too well, but I was just trying to help, and it was a pretty good meal. It was a pretty interesting catch up, and it was nice to see that she has a heart. And I was basically sort of saying to her, like, don't change yourself too much, because it's not necessarily you that's the problem. And a lot of the situations, it might just be that the people that you're trying to, that are causing problems in your life, might just, maybe there's there's something there that's missing in them. Anyway, that's enough for today.